Indeed. Really interesting piece there from Kirby's Return to Dreamland. New to the playlist. I'm going to play some more of that, for sure, in the weeks to come. It's really, really nice. But now, joined in the studio by super cool and uber awesome Chaz Brickley. Chaz, hello.
Good evening, Matt.
How are you?
Good evening, gamers everywhere.
Let's hope so. How are you doing? You okay?
Yes, I'm very, very pleased to be on your show. I'm a great fan, as I think you know.
Oh, thank you very much. That's very, very kind. But I want to say, actually, we were just saying just shortly before coming on air, you're quite a good example, no offence, of the sort of person that we're trying desperately to introduce this music to and to celebrate it with. You know, you're obviously. Well, tell us a bit about your show that you run on a Saturday.
Right, well, Classical Chaz on a Saturday is probably 60% classical music. I do try and put a community flavour to it.
Yeah.
And I think, as you also know, I try wherever possible to have live guests who play a bit of acoustic as well, because I love acoustic music. But actually, I love all music. Some I like to hear more than others. But I love classical music. Yeah. I love conventional music. It can be something that's in the top 10. I'm doing a lot to promote Eurovision at the moment, as I think you know. And, Eurovision, you've got what some people would consider the good, bad and the ugly.
To say the least, I think it's been kind.
But the fact is, it means different things to different people. And you have to remember that those countries selected people. And we had Daz Sampson one year, didn't we? And Scooch. You know, so we cannot throw brickbats at other people.
Some big sort of artists have certainly come out of that.
Yeah.
But it's interesting that you mentioned classical music there. Obviously, you've got an interest in that, and your whole show is kind of built on those foundations. But do you see the similarities between film score, classical music, and video game music?
Absolutely, and in fact, I've seen computers grow from when I had to punch cards to program them,
right?
And floppy disks that really were floppy because they were in card cartridges, just like floppy records, with magnetic media. So I've seen the whole progress of computers through that, and I think, as I said to you once before, some time ago, that I actually, had one of these paddle stations, and we also had one of those machines where you pressed a button and Simon Says. I think
yes, I remember that.
It gives you different multiple colours, and then you have to remember and press the appropriate colours.
So
that wasn't a video game per se.
That's where it came from, though.
It was an electronic game, and it made a noise.
And
we've come a heck of a long way on the chips from the thing that sort of went beep bap beep beep bap 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 blip 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 blip. Excuse my.
I might use that as a soundboard. It's very good, actually.
To now, which are full orchestral pieces, in which composers have made a name on that, and then been asked to go on to compose film scores.
And that's a great point, really. I mean, normally, as video game music was starting to become much more apparent, you did start to see the cross-fertilization of film composers making a step into games, but it's a mainstay thing now. Game composers, it's a breaking way into the industry. Compose for games, and it's quite a natural transition now to then go from that to films. It's all visual medium, and certainly as the cinematics, the graphics, the quality has improved, so much more can be achieved.
Well, of course, and you've got such a variety of video games. I mean, okay, if you forget the historical ones, but I mean, even Sonic has managed to stay on, and the Mario Brothers, those sort of competitive items, sometimes where you're competing against yourself. But I can remember in the mid-90s where there was a game based on the third of the Indiana Jones adventures, where he was first of all, he had to go and save the cross. Then he was on the train, and he had to. Oh,
because that was set in the Wild West, wasn't it?
That's right.
Right.
And so he had all those adventures right up until he had to go and fight the Germans, etc. And I can remember. A friend of mine, her son was really good at that, and he was always wanting someone to compete against and show up. And I was quite happy to have a crack at it.
How did you do?
So I'm an old geezer. It is a young man's game. But having said that, I used to play. The grandson used to like zapping things because he was very quick on the zapping, and his his tactics were great, but his strategy lacked a little bit.
Right.
Because he'd missed that turning that he's supposed to have gone up, and by going up there, he crosses a bridge and into another new zone.
Right.
So I think that was Tank Commander, that one.
Oh, I see.
So
I think we might have even covered that in this book. Maybe.
Yeah, I'd sat and watched him and then go, James, actually, if you do this and that, oh, yeah, okay, right, cheers. and he'd get on, and he'd get to the next level. And he was really chuffed. So after that, I had to sit in and be his strategic advisor.
I see. Yeah. And that led to that. Well, it's interesting because then that led to your career in the RAF, wasn't it? Is that what it led on to?
No. I was in the Air Force as a young lad.
A young sprout.
In those days, computers were very new, and they had green writing on them. And if you weren't absolutely precise, you got syntax error.
Right, I see. Well, I just want to say before you can hear we're playing some Oblivion now in the background, which is very reminiscent of again it's rich orchestral dramatic score, very similar to like Lord of the Rings almost. It's on that kind of level,
or even Handel's Messiah.
There you go, you said it. But I remember a few weeks ago I gave you a track list of 10 video game tracks. Yeah. Using your knowledge that you've built up over the last 6 months or so, can you pick out a favourite and can you name it?
Was it one about Drake's?
Uncharted. Yeah. Some good music from there.
And I like the music from the empire building thing, where you build an empire. It's not a game I've particularly, but I had a look at that, I think, on YouTube or something.
Build an empire.
I think it was Empire Building or something. It was basically...
Empires. There's a game called Empires.
Yeah, you start off with the pharaohs building...
I see. So it's interesting you said, because...
or Civilization. Is it Civilization?
Yes, yeah, Civilization. And there was that was a game that got mentioned earlier on today, because Civilization 4, there's a piece within that soundtrack called Baba Yetu, which was the first video game track to win a Grammy in 2011, I believe.
Well, of course, the music was appropriate to each aspiring civilization, and that's what I thought was great. Because,
and that goes part and parcel of the game with film music. You compose to the score. The music has to embody and characterise what the game is seeing. If it doesn't, the game fails.
Yep.
Simple as. But this is a great example of how the winning formula is done and achieved. Amazing stuff. Jeremy Soule, Oblivion. Enjoy.